Yeah, g'day, Mark here, and welcome back to my channel. Now, I've had a kind of never-ending process of making up a set of 12 new tool holders for my CNC lathe. It's taken me much longer than I expected, especially since my mate Luke down in Malta actually roughed out the metal for me on his big horizontal mill. But we are getting close to the finishing line now, so hopefully this video will have them completed. Now the next operation, I need to work on these two extended length tool holders, because the Schaublin original's got a chamfer across here which is 15 degrees and also tapers up from the bottom by 15 degrees, and it looks like that taper runs for about 25 millimeters. And then the second feature these need is the big hole in the middle, and the function of that hole is to give you access to the secondary tool mounting, giving you the opportunity to put two different tools onto a single station of this four-way automatic tool changer. Oh, wait a minute, that's the wrong side. Now this tool holder needed welding because I screwed up the dovetail, and therefore the slot's not flat. However, before I do that, one thing I do need to address is that I plonked my magnet down on my surface grinder, but I never squared it up. So it's about 1/8 of an inch off square. So let's square it up and then give it a quick fresh dressing. Now what I really need to do is make up a fence to go on the back side of it to automatically align stuff. Okay, well that was all going fun and dandy with just a very light little sort of dust-off cut, when suddenly it made a deep cut and stalled the motor at the end. Why is that? Well, a while ago I made this gutter here in preparation for the coolant system, and I just found out that it hits over here, right there. I'm not sure exactly what the mechanism was, but obviously it lifted the table or something and jammed the wheel. So I'll pop this off for now and finish the dressing, but I'm going to need to cut about probably I guess an inch or so off the end of that. You know, if you ask me, this piece here is not supposed to be painted. I'm sure it's the pad for mounting this. Okay, didn't quite get down into the very corner there, but it's definitely a lot better than before. Right, that was just roughing out those holes. Now to bring them to dimension, we use this lovely beast. Now the key to setting this VHU boring head by Narix is that on the side there's the fast adjustment scale, which moves the whole way by 2 millimeters each time you turn 120 degrees, or 2 millimeters off diameter, so 1 millimeter. But this locks. To unlock it, you have to press it in because there's a ball detent inside there, and then you can turn it. And to get your fine adjustment, just use this wheel, which is 1/100th of a millimeter of diameter for each dash on the dial. This is only one function. Of course, this boring head is also capable of facing, where you stick a bar in here to hold it, and it'll slowly increase the diameter that it's cutting for facing operations. But that's not relevant for this job. Wow, that was a chattery mess. Well, no wonder it sounded like crap when the first thing it did was wipe the tip off the insert. Right, that should now increase it by 3/10 of a millimeter. Well, very, very rough, sort of torn finish in there. Well, that was definitely better. Not perfect, but better. Should have about 2/10 to go. Okay, slowed down the feed rate too much and got way worse chatter again. Well, that's pretty disappointing surface finish. Lucky I've got some of those high positive rake aluminium cutting inserts, so I'll give those a go for finishing. Okay, with them I can take really nice fine finishing cuts. There's still a little of that chatter left in there, but the surface finish is much better. Mail time. Oh wow, 0.4 of a millimeter ball end mill. Wonder how long it'll take me to kill this. Recently I've picked up quite a few more tool holders for my milling machine, and I didn't have enough of the short pull studs which are needed for SK40 tool holders. These came up in the local classifieds, so I bought 10 more of them. I already had a bag of the longer ones used for BT40, so now I've got plenty of both. This is one of those magnetic pick up the swath things. I figured it'd be helpful to help keep the way seals free of swath. To finish up my set of tool holders, the last thing I need is a set of 12 of these adjuster blocks. They're made out of 10mm steel, 30 by 20, a few holes, one tapped, a couple counter board. Now the original design's got a feature where they have a little plastic part spring loaded to push against the screw to provide sort of a bit of anti-backlash. I'm not so sure if I'm going to bother doing that. Seems like it's kind of overkill. Now I want to take advantage of one of the real advantages of a CNC machine, and that is the ability to take some toolpath and then offset it, in this case multiple times along a piece of steel, so that I can make 6 of these parts at a go and just cut them off with a bandsaw and then finish them up on a second setup. Now the first toolpath is just drag engraving to give me a line so that I can see where I will have to run the bandsaw and make sure I don't damage the parts. So this part here is the actual engraving where I just run around the outside of the shape, and then the main part of the program has got a while loop which repeats 5 times, where it sets a second set of machine offsets called G55 relative to the basic set of G54. And what it's doing is each time it goes through, it leaves X and Z, sets those the same as G54, but the Y gets incremented by 23mm times the index. As I say, this is just drag engraving here, so let's give it a go. I put a feed rate move in there, that needs to be faster. Bit of a pucker factor on that, the way I had it first plunging and then moving. I'll fix that. That blade's too fine. Push too hard. Guess I'm going to have to work on the blade tracking or something here, because this is driving me nuts. With the 12 blanks roughed out, the next idea was going to be putting 4 pairs of holes in the leftover, so I could bolt down 4 blanks and then just run a end mill around the outside of each of them to clean them up. But unfortunately, Linux CNC is disagreeing. Because my toolpath is using cutter compensation, it says I'm not allowed to offset a cutter compensated toolpath. So I could either go back, do all the calculations and write the toolpath to go around the outside of the piece without cutter compensation, or I can set it up to cut one piece at a time. Well, let's start off by doing the one piece at a time thing. It's the first time I've used cutter compensation and it's worked, but I'm exactly a millimeter oversize in both directions. It's a 10mm cutter. Right, per the tool table, tool 7 has a 10mm diameter, which is loaded. Here I'm also telling it a tool diameter of 10mm. An origin of X0, Y0. We've got a maximum of X30 and a minimum of Y minus 20. So it's a 20 by 30mm box. I do not understand where that extra millimeter is coming from. Well, let's lie to it and say that that cutter is only 9mm diameter. Why is that changing so much? So it's 10, it's giving me that size. What if I remove that completely? Because that shouldn't be necessary. Aha! That looks like it's giving me that 1mm. Okay, let's run it again. Oh wow, that's nice. Yeah, that's right on dimension. So 1 down, 11 to go. I'll add a line to move the table over for a loading position. I guess that cut is getting towards the end of its life. It's already been resharpened once. Right, I'll now give these just a bit of a cosmetic touch up on the surface grinder. Take that mill scale off them. Well, those are looking good. These now need deburring. I'll give them some degreasing. But it turns out that you guys care way more about the legibility of these numbers than I do. I guess I'd better follow your instructions and paint them. Maybe it's best to let this dry a bit first. Just using some black matte paint from, I think it's blackboard paint. Now, I was asked whether I was going to glue the entire tool holders, but because Schaublin didn't, I won't either. But these bits I will. Just using some birchwood casey. And to finish these off, they get a bit of a rub over with steel wool and oil. Now, I could have made the black darker by doing a second coat, but they're lathe tools. They're going to be hit by swarf, and over time, this is going to wear anyway. Right, well, I'm happy to have those finally done. Now, for my facing tool holder, I've got this pretty darn nice, I don't know, Sandvik maybe, tool holder, but it's a bit thick in this direction and it's way too long. So I'll chop it down with an angle grinder, and then it's hardened, so I'll have to hard machine it down, just get rid of that extra thickness. Well, check this out. I'm now super happy to have a decent number of lathe tools. I haven't loaded everything yet. I'll have to go through and load everything, dial it all in, set up the tool table on the Schaublin. But for now, just super happy to have this job finished. It's taken me way too long. Big thank you to Luke for the steel and the roughing out of these tool holders. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.